I'm divorcing a worthless, broke loser like you.
He left the divorce papers and walked out. On the hospital bed, I just stared blankly at the divorce papers. I had been suspicious of him for some time, but I never imagined he was really cheating on me. And now, because he got someone pregnant, he's discarding me because I can't earn money while hospitalized.
Mom?
Startled, I looked up to see my dear son Ethan and my father standing there. My father frowned as he saw what I was holding.
What are you going to do now?
I've got it all figured out. I talked my way into being discharged early from the hospital and headed for the bank where Jack worked. My father, who drove me there, said, "You can do this," and dropped me off in front of the bank. And when I entered the bank, I caught sight of Jack, frowning as he noticed me. By chance, there were no other customers in front of Jack. I walked straight up to him. "I'm closing all the accounts of the employees."
What?
Let's show him whose daughter he has angered. While Jack turned pale, I smirked. "My name is Emily Wilson. I am a 32-year-old mother of one who is a company executive. I have a 7-year-old son, Ethan, and my husband, Jack. Jack and I met in college at a blind date party hosted by mutual friends. At the time, we weren't particularly interested in each other and just exchanged contact information."
Hey, aren't you Emily, the one from the blind date party?
"You're Jack, aren't you?" The following year, I happened to use the bank where he worked, and we reconnected. That led us to start communicating regularly and eventually dating. We got married when I got pregnant with Ethan. Jack was known for his diligent and meticulous work. Because of that, I was envied by my friends. I myself was glad to have married him.
Mom, why is it like this?
Just wait a minute. I don't know the details myself, so I'll look it up.
Okay.
Ethan, maybe taking after Jack, is studious and curious. He constantly asks, "What's this? Why?" making my days filled with learning. Surprisingly, Ethan admires not Jack, but my father. My mother passed away due to illness, and my father raised me alone despite his busy work schedule.
Sorry, I really can't stand your dad.
Oh, don't say that to him. He takes it quite hard, you know?
I wouldn't say that.
My father is a kind man, but he looks tough and quite intimidating. Jack is also uncomfortable around my father's imposing appearance. Aware of this, my father tried not to interfere too much, which allowed us to have a peaceful life initially. Everything was going smoothly. However, that changed with our marriage.
Hey, where did you put my phone?
I didn't put it anywhere. Didn't you leave it charging? Jack would come asking grumpily first thing in the morning. Indeed, his phone was left on the charger from the night before. Without any apology or thanks, he just clicked his tongue, which irritated me. Jack changed after we got married. At every chance.
I'm an elite banker. You live comfortably because of me.
He told me such a thing. However, Jack didn't contribute financially at home. Despite spending his salary on himself, he acted as if he was supporting the household. In reality, I was the one supporting our family's finances. I paid for utilities and groceries.
Hey, what's with this new outfit?
It's for Ethan. He's outgrown his old clothes.
Don't splurge with my money.
I paid for it with my salary. I don't even have access to your bank account. Yet, whenever I took Ethan out for a meal or bought new clothes, he immediately complained. It seemed like any slight indulgence by us bothered him. On the other hand, my father would spare no expense for us.
The apartment is too cramped, right? So, I bought the condo Jack wanted. That way, I can be nearby without living with you.
He said with a smile and bought us a new condo, gifting us the top floor. My father lived on a different floor in the same condo to be there for us in times of need.
Mom, can I go to Grandpa's place?
Sure, but don't stay too late. Make sure to come back before it gets dark.
Okay.
It might be natural for Ethan to be more attached to his grandfather than to his father, Jack. Ethan goes to see my father whenever he has time.
Where's Ethan?
He's at Dad's place.
I see.
By the way, Jack never complains to my father. Besides, he also tried not to tell Ethan too much so that Ethan wouldn't tell on my father. He only acts stuff with me. Indeed, I keep quiet to avoid causing trouble for my father. Well, I can just ignore it if it's just complaints. That's how I lightly thought of it. Jack is such a man that he never takes part in parenting.
I've been called by Amelia, so I'm heading out.
Again. Amelia White, Jack's childhood friend, is the one stealing his time from parenting. I dislike her, to put it mildly.
Jack and I are like siblings, so don't mistake our relationship.
She says every time we meet. Yet, she claims to know Jack better than me, saying things like the old Jack used to, which is really annoying. My mother-in-law dotes on Amelia too.
Why did Jack choose such a woman instead of marrying Amelia? She would have been perfect.
When called to my in-laws' house, she would say such things loudly enough for me to hear. My father-in-law would scold her, but she doesn't seem to care. Amelia is so goofy.
I'm just naturally like this, so I tend to rely on Jack. I don't mean to upset you, Emily.
It might be excusable if she were younger. But she's 28, not much younger than me. She really should start acting her age. The reason Amelia and Jack didn't end up together is because of my father-in-law.
I don't want that woman as my daughter-in-law. If you insist on it, I'll divorce you.
Amelia is hardly a good person. She's known for her wild social life, not working, and living a dependent lifestyle. She gets Jack to buy her whatever she wants. My father-in-law detested her and strongly opposed their relationship. I couldn't understand why my mother-in-law adored Amelia so much.
I'm sorry, Emily. Carol was rude to you.
It's not your fault.
Jack is to blame, too. He doesn't defend his wife against the insults and is even close to that woman.
True to his words, Jack never defended me against what my mother-in-law said. Sometimes he even laughed along.
Grandma, why do you say such things? If my mom hadn't met my dad, I wouldn't be here. Am I an unwanted child to you?
Of course not, sweetheart.
Ethan always stood up for me. He might not understand how children are born, but he knew that it takes both parents to have a child. My mother-in-law dotes on Ethan, so she refrains from speaking ill in front of him. It feels like Jack is the same, making me realize how parents and children can be alike.
I plan to drink with Amelia tonight, so I'll be late.
Oh, I see. Gradually, I started to wonder if we really needed Jack in our lives, and I began preparing for divorce. Ethan seemed to sense something.
Let me know if there's anything I can help with.
He said so and showed his concern for me. Just then, I was summoned by my mother-in-law. I didn't want to go, but she kept calling persistently enough to affect my work.
Robert is not here to lift heavy things, so can you buy some potato bags?
Apparently, my father-in-law was away on a business trip. I thought she could just order it online, but saying that would only lead to more trouble. After a day's work, carrying heavy things left me exhausted. As I absent-mindedly headed towards the condo, my body was thrown by a car. Apparently, a car that ran a red light hit me.
You were hit by a car that fled the scene, and it's currently under investigation.
I was told while lying in the hospital bed. For now, I left Ethan in my father's care as I had to be hospitalized for a while. With a broken arm, I couldn't do much work. Worried about this, my father scolded me, saying, "You should be more concerned about your own health first." Ethan, my father, and my father-in-law, who returned home hastily to help, visited me often. However, Jack and my mother-in-law never came to see me, which I had anticipated.
May I come in?
What? So, I was surprised when Jack entered my hospital room.
Fill this out.
He said, handing me divorce papers. His name was already signed, and my mother-in-law's name was in the witness section.
With that arm, you can't work. Now that you can't earn money, you're useless to me.
What are you saying?
Besides, Amelia is pregnant with my child.
My thoughts froze at his words. Amelia is pregnant with Jack's child.
I'm marrying Amelia, so just sign this quickly.
He said so, turning his back on me, as if I no longer mattered to him.
I'm divorcing a worthless, broke loser like you.
With those words, Jack left the divorce papers and walked out. On the hospital bed, I stared blankly at the divorce papers. I had been suspicious of him before, but I never really thought he was cheating on me. And now, because he got someone pregnant, he's discarding me because I can't earn money while hospitalized.
Mom,
Startled, I looked up to see my dear son Ethan and my father standing there. My father frowned as he saw what I was holding.
What are you going to do now?
I've got it all figured out. I looked straight at my father and responded. My father nodded in agreement. Now it's time for my counterattack. I talked my way into being discharged early from the hospital and headed for the bank where Jack worked. My father, who drove me there, said, "You can do this," and dropped me off in front of the bank. And when I entered the bank, I caught sight of Jack, frowning as he noticed me. By chance, there were no other customers in front of Jack. I walked straight up to him. "I'm closing all the accounts of the employees."
What?
Jack's expression clearly read, "What are you talking about?" Without taking a number, I walked straight to the counter, and I could feel some people looking at me as if I was causing a disturbance. Oh, was that rude? Maybe you don't recognize me without mentioning the company name.
What are you trying to do?
I am Emily Knight, who recently succeeded my father as the president. The company is Knight Corporation.
What are you talking about?
Knight Corporation is an IT company my father founded, which now employs 1,900 people. It's quite famous in the area and in the industry due to its rapid growth in a single generation. That's why Jack was so shocked.
That's a lie, right? This is revenge.
If you think so, why don't you check? Jack started checking immediately after my words. My maiden name, Knight, is uncommon, which is what my father named the company after our family name. While Jack was verifying, I looked around. Having mentioned the company name, the people around us were watching our interaction.
Are you kidding, right?
It seemed he had confirmed it. Jack looked up at me tentatively.
Are you really from that Knight Corporation?
I was about to show him whose daughter he had angered. As Jack turned pale, I smiled smugly. That's why, please proceed with closing the accounts quickly.
Wait, we can't just. If we close all these accounts at once, it will cause problems.
By the way, my father is quite angry about this whole situation. Pack your things and leave the condo.
Hey, why? Why do I have to be kicked out?
Jack seems to have forgotten that the condo was bought by my father and is in his name. Otherwise, he wouldn't have brought Amelia in during my hospitalization and still be living there. Forgot. That condo was bought by my father, the former president. You haven't paid a cent for it. In fact, you haven't contributed to the living expenses at all. All your earnings go to supporting Amelia. We've been living on my salary alone. I wonder whose earnings you think we've been living on?
That's.
And now, because she's pregnant, you expect me to give up the condo for your mistress? How much more are you going to disrespect me? I said it loudly on purpose so others could hear. Jack was obviously panicked. After all, he was known to be serious. The idea that he doesn't contribute at home and is cheating with a childhood friend would tarnish his reputation. The onlookers' gazes turned cold.
Is that true?
Excuse me? The one who approached me was the branch manager of the bank. He had been there for a while, listening to our conversation.
It seems I need to have a detailed talk with you. I'm very sorry for our bank employee's behavior.
And the branch manager joined us. I was then taken to the manager's room to talk with Jack, the branch manager, and myself. There, I recounted the details to the manager.
I'm terribly sorry for the inconvenience caused.
The branch manager said with a deep sigh, apologizing again. He then took Jack's head and made him bow, who was looking displeased beside him.
I can understand why you wouldn't want to entrust your important money to the bank that employs such a person. If you decide to close the accounts, I will arrange it.
He is no longer my husband. I will reconsider the cancellation if you agree to one condition. They looked up expectantly at my words. It was a good deal for the branch manager, but the worst for Jack. If you fire Jack Wilson, I will continue doing business with this bank.
Oh, no.
That's only fair. I was planning to fire him anyway.
The branch manager had indeed intended to take action, and Jack's face turned increasingly red when he opened his mouth to say something.
Excuse me, there is a father of Emily.
Another bank employee came to us. I asked the branch manager to let him in, and Jack shut his mouth in dissatisfaction.
Why do I have to be involved in this?
What? My mom.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
My father came in clutching my mother-in-law's arm. And my mother-in-law, who looked disgusted, glared at me when she spotted me.
This is your doing. What do you think you're doing to your mother-in-law? I will never forgive you.
Shut up.
When my mother-in-law started yelling, my father shouted at her, making her hard face even scarier. And my mother-in-law and Jack shut up with a short scream.
I know you've been harassing my daughter, calling her for errands, making her carry heavy things, and I heard you've been saying within earshot that Jack's mistress, Amelia, would be a better wife than my daughter. And Jack, you should have defended your wife instead of laughing about it.
My father's voice boomed through the bank. Jack tried to intervene, but he remained silent under my father's stern gaze.
It's also been revealed that Amelia White was the one who hit Emily. She has already been arrested by the police.
Impossible, Amelia doing such a thing.
What are you surprised about? You were the mastermind.
My father thundered again. Meanwhile, Jack was shocked, as if he had no idea.
You and your mother are despicable. Emily, let's go.
Well, it's all done. And I headed outside with my father. The branch manager followed us, repeatedly apologizing. I thought maybe we could continue doing business with this bank under this manager, as we heard Jack and my mother-in-law arguing loudly behind us. They seemed to be blaming each other. Their argument was overheard by the customers and other bank employees, confirming what they had heard was true. Everything went as planned.
Yes, they reacted just as expected.
We left the bank with a smile, our plan having succeeded, and Jack was duly fired. Thanks to the thorough police investigation, Amelia received a prison sentence. It was uncovered that my mother-in-law had instigated Amelia to commit the hit and run in an attempt to get rid of me, leading to her arrest as well.
Mom, Grandpa, welcome back.
We're home. Thank you for taking care of Ethan.
No problems. It looks like you've settled everything properly.
After the bank, I went to pick up Ethan, who I had left with my father-in-law. My father-in-law helped a lot this time, finding evidence that my mother-in-law had instigated Amelia and a note detailing her plan to eliminate me, which he submitted to the police. When I thanked him, he smiled and said, "You did well." After that, my days became busier than ever. I was already busy as the next president and an executive, but becoming president brought even more significant responsibilities. Meanwhile, my father started a new company.
I've been wanting to start a new company for a while.
He said, happily pausing the presidency to me to get back at Jack. Since both my father and I were busy, my father-in-law took care of Ethan. It turns out his business trip was forced by my mother-in-law's affair with her boss. He took early retirement and moved into a vacant apartment in our condo.
I'm studying remote work now.
I'm planning to delegate some work to him eventually. We've sent someone knowledgeable to train him. He seems very capable, so I definitely want him to flourish in the new company.
It seems that the fathers got along well after this incident, often visiting each other's apartments to drink and chat. Meanwhile, Jack, who was ousted, returned to his empty family home. Unable to get a job in banking again, especially after my father and I spread the word, he ended up paying me alimony with loans. He's now living a life of hard work, doing odd jobs sparingly, even coming to us in tears once, but we collectively ignored him. He was expected to become a branch manager if all went well, but he fell far short.
When I grow up, I want to be just like Grandpa.
Ethan has come to respect my father even more after these events, seeing him as the hero who saved us from the unpleasantness of Jack and my mother-in-law.
Then, would you like to take over for Grandpa someday?
Yes,
Ethan's willingness to follow in his footsteps made my father very happy. Determined not to be outdone by such a loving father, I resolved to work even harder. Eventually, both my company and my father's business stabilized.
Mom, welcome home.
Welcome back. You've worked hard.
Despite returning home exhausted, my father-in-law had prepared dinner.
I helped make dinner today.
Really? That's great, Ethan. I'm looking forward to dinner. While I praised Ethan, who smiled broadly, my father returned home late. Then the four of us sat down for dinner, chatting and laughing together. In stark contrast to our harmonious family, Jack's life had fallen apart. He piled up debt upon debt, eventually falling into the clutches of loan sharks. I heard rumors he ended up on a boat. Jack's family home was sold to pay off his debts, and having lost her place, my mother-in-law was reportedly living under a bridge.
By the way, we received an apology letter from Amelia's parents. They are good people, so I hope you'll read it.
If you say so, I shall read it. According to the letter from Amelia's parents, she gave birth in prison. They took custody of the child, and to ensure Amelia wouldn't depend on them after her release, they moved far away. The letter also contained a deep apology to me. Amelia's parents seem like genuinely good people. I truly hope the child grows up to be like them, not the parents. However, Amelia now has no place to return to either. I hope she reflects on her sins in her solitude. Years later, we are unaffected by Jack's existence, and Ethan, now grown, acts as if he never had his father. He seems to remember him vaguely, but has chosen to erase that relation from his life. It was the same for us, and their existence was completely forgotten.
I've decided to take over Grandpa's company after all.
If that's what you've decided, I won't object. Ethan chose to inherit my father's business. The company he founded at that time was a toy company. Starting as an ordinary employee, Ethan quickly became valued for his stream of ideas.
Maybe it won't be long before I can leave the company in Ethan's hands.
My father said with a smile. He plans to retire to the countryside after passing the business to Ethan. I've also found a successor and am busy training them. Once they're sufficiently capable, I might consider early retirement to pursue new endeavors. With these thoughts, I continue my daily efforts as the president,